What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the WiseTake NBA DFS Early Look CK013. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013, and I am from the WiseTake Nation, which you can find on all the social media platforms. This is below or directly at WiseTake.com. If you're looking to take your DFS game to another level, we are a premium DFS content provider as well as a DFS community designed to help make you a better DFS player. Go check us out at WiseTake.com. You want to try us out? We got day passes available, $2.50. All it costs to try out our content. Projections for FanDuel and DraftKings, cheat sheets, Paulie D's Fast Break, my Core Plays article, and of course the pre-lock Wise stream, which we start 45 minutes prior to lock, take you up to lock. While everybody helps get their teams built. Regardless of that, welcome if you're new to the channel. Please subscribe, hit the notifications bell. We do all sorts of free content here on YouTube, Twitch, Podbean, iTunes, whatever the platform it is you're listening on. And if you hit that like button, it helps to keep us going. So please hit the like button. Helps keep us moving. Allows us to continue to do what we do and put out some free content on the platforms. Okay. We got a smaller slate, 5 games. 5 games. And I think we're going to have a lot of chalk in this first game, right out the gate. 7:30 p.m. lock, a little bit later than usual, which means the Wise stream will start a little bit later than usual as well. Right out the gate, just looking at this slate, we know that Kevin Durant currently out, Brooklyn. So obviously Kyrie Irving, who's coming off of a massive game against Washington, is going to stand out at the point guard position. Also, Caris LeVert, who is 6'6", and has not gotten the run or has not been as efficient as people would have liked. We've seen what he can do when these guys are out. We got one of them out, and the price has dropped at least a little at 6'6". So that's kind of headline. That's kind of headlining, I guess, the early look, right, as we go into it. Clean slate. Looking at point guards. It's hard to click any one of these guys up top other than Kyrie Irving. I think if I'm not playing Kyrie or if I don't want to spend the money right out the gate, while I think Dame is certainly going to be low owned at 9.8 against a terrible defensive team in Chicago, and is certainly a GPP option, I think I'm more inclined to take a shot on a guy like Jamal Murray, who seems to be in the fucking zone, right? 7.6, so the price is starting to go up, but just been awesome his last couple games, including against his very team in his last game. Went for 51.75 DraftKings points. And now he's at home. We know that Michael Porter Jr. is out, and we've seen Murray and Jokic just completely ball. I mean, Jokic's been balling all year, but Murray seems to be the bigger benefactor, and that's what the numbers showed us, right? It said Jokic and Murray were getting the usage, and that's what we've seen. I skipped over CJ McCollum, which could be a mistake because he's playing on another level. At this point, as much as we love Dame at the Nation, at this point in an early sample, you got to ask yourself, why pay the 9.8 for Dame if I could pay 8.4 for McCollum? All of which, however, leads you back to the scenario of Damian Lillard being low. So somebody we're going to want in tournaments. But obviously, I think Kyrie currently is an optimal. You can consider Jamal Murray an optimal at this point if you have the money to settle in that mid-tier because of the Porter being out thing, right? D'Angelo Russell, man, he's been terrible. You know, a couple of these guys have been really disappointing. D'Lo is one of them. And the other one's Kobe White. And he's actually coming off of a decent game. But last year, we saw this guy show massive upside. And I've been disappointed because his minutes have been through the roof. And the usage has been there. The performances haven't. Maybe we see some against Dame. But 6-7, keep him on the table in the tournaments. And, of course, going back to Caris LeVert, I don't see how we don't just load up on Caris LeVert. 6'6", he'll be popular. I would anticipate him seeing 30 minutes in a close game with Kevin Durant out. We know Dinwiddie's already out, right? Now KD's out. They're going to need this usage, right? And I think that we will see Kyrie and LeVert play together, and we'll also see them staggered, which is going to leave plenty of usage for both of them. And LeVert is significantly cheaper. What's not to like? What's not to like? Ricky Rubio, man. 5K, but like, what are they doing? What did they bring him here for? I'd like to know that. I understand they've been involved in a lot of blowouts, but Cat's been out. Like, you would think they would need some help. I know he's not the best scorer, but I don't even know why they went out and got him. Really don't. 5K is cheap. 5K is cheap. I don't really see a ton else that stands out. If I'm missing something, let me know in the comments. Pop up in there. Let me know in the comments. You know, this Bane cat, it's a shame that he only got 21 minutes against the Lakers because it seemed like he was kind of doing well. With Ja Morant out, we're seeing him get a little bit more run. You almost hope for the blowout when you play him, and that's certainly on the table against the Lakers. But Karis LeVert's kind of stealing the show at the position. Same with Kyrie, you could argue. Shooting guards. So all these guys, we talked about McCollum. Paul George has been going nuts. He's going nuts. 3 straight games of over 50 DraftKings points. He's playing the Spurs, another bad defensive team. Zach LaVine, we know in any kind of close game, is going to barely come off the court and he's going to take a ton of shots. That's just that's his MO, right? However, his price is elevated to a point where we don't see it a ton, 8K. So this position already is pretty deep up top. Not to mention Donovan Mitchell is no slouch, and nor is D'Lo or Kobe White. All these guys, and of course you got LeVert you could play. But this is deep as hell right here. This section, deep. Beasley, my boy Beasley, 38 minutes against Denver in a revenge spot. It was a blowout. They didn't care. He was just on. 16 shots, 10 for 16. Shot really well from the field. He's a good shooter. He's going to do that from time to time. But now he's 6'3", a little bit more expensive. Playing in Denver, which you would think he'd be used to, but he hasn't played there in a while now. Got traded, remember, midway point last season. Then we had the bubble situation, all that goodness. Dylan Brooks is only 6'2". He's been disappointing. You want to talk about disappointing? He's been really disappointing, right? Memphis is a significantly worse team without Ja Morant. That's clear. The usage has been there for Brooks. He's just not hitting. But when he does, 6'2" is too low of a price. And it matters because he is showing a usage increase with Ja Morant out. It does. And Nelson in the chat, hey, yo, Holmes murdering me right now. Yes. Holmes murdering me too, man. So is Bagley, man. I just need one of those guys to go out there and have a good fucking day, man. I was on my way to a good day, man. I was looking like it's going to be mediocre. Nobody likes mediocre. Really needed Bagley and Holmes to show up, man. One of them. But the whole team came out flat. You know, I mean, let's be real. The whole team did. Will Barton only got 22 minutes. You could argue it's because the game was ugly. He was aggressive, took 11 shots. This was terrible. With Porter out, assuming that he does start, and assuming that it's hard to assume that any of these games are being close. That's the real problem with this game in general. Is you could just never, you really just don't know. And most of Minnesota's games have been terrible because they just get destroyed every single time, every single game. They just get destroyed. And guys like Anthony Edwards are getting a chance to play. Nah, I don't really love it down here. It's too deep up top, right? Too deep up top. Small forwards, the fun guy against his old team, right? 21 shots against 4 for 21 against Phoenix. That's pretty fucking bad. That's really bad. But obviously he's got big boy upside. Kawhi, the fun guy. DeMar DeRozan's been playing well. LMA has been out. I think we can consider him. I just don't love it. The pricing is really what I'm not loving. Like, I think the guys are priced pretty, like, appropriately. So where you look at them and you're like, yeah, I could pay this, but I'm not, like, dying to do it. Even Keldon Johnson, who's been playing really well, at 6'5", is just not, you're not getting excited. I think Kyle Anderson might actually be one of the ones we can get fairly excited about, right? He's another one that's really shown some big-time usage. The issue is they've been starting Brandon Clark, and we were worried that's going to affect the rebounds. It didn't against Charlotte, but against the Lakers, he only got 4 boards. Starting Brandon Clark at the 4, moving Kyle Anderson up to the 3, it does make a little bit of a difference. Man, this dude's his face is on like literally the halfway point, right? Like his eyebrows are like the halfway point of his head, or his eyes are like the exact halfway point of his face. That's wild. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, I think he is a good play. I do. What do we see? Rudy Gay's all right. Just all right. I mean, the young guys are kind of out there, really showing up, really showing out. You would have thought he'd get more run. I wonder if TLC's anything. I gotta talk to Paulie about the TLC thing, man. Paulie's a TLC whisperer. Is Kevin Durant being out enough for this man to get a little bit of usage? We've seen what he can do when he gets that usage, right? We all remember the Memphis game. All in, let's go. TLC, that's how we do. We'll have to check with Paulie on that. We'll talk to his ass. Anthony Davis, only 9.5. Was not good against Memphis, but he did come through for us against the Spurs. It was about fucking time. We were pretty vested. It was nice to finally get that off. 9.5, that is a good price for him. You could argue, we've had these arguments with people. The role is different, 100%. The role is different. Not the same situation, right, as last year. Dennis Schroeder is an upgrade offensively. Can do a little bit more. Can take shots. Same thing with Montrezl Harrell, a little bit more aggressive down there than the guys that were replaced. But he still has monstrous upside, as he showed us. And 95, to me, in my opinion anyway. Kyle Kuzma actually got the start in that last game. Didn't do much with it. It's the usage. You really need those guys to be out. You really do. You need those guys to be out. Covington doing what he does best in this new role for Portland. Nothing. Plays defense, which is good for real basketball. But for fantasy, not doing a whole ton. Not for us. Thaddeus Young has been extremely popular. Thaddeus Young has been terrible outside of that first game. And that's the thing about it, too. You got to remember, I expect them to be Portland to be a little bit better against forwards. The last couple of years, we've always taken, scoring forwards against them. But with Covington and Derrick Jones there, they went and got some defense. And that's why Melo's on the bench, because Melo don't play no defense. But that happens. Not pretty. That position's not pretty, right? That's an ugly one. That's an ugly position. Maybe some will open up. But to me, that is an ugly. Who would you play at power? Would you? I mean, maybe just spend up. I don't think Otto Porter's out of the question because he takes threes. But he's not out of the question, right? In fact, he might be one of the more attractive plays down here. If the Bulls guys are all still out, I gotta check. Do we have that news at all? Markkanen out. Hutchison's still out. Yeah. Okay. No. Doubtful. Okay. Doubtful to join the team. So they're still pretty thin. But again, that's the close game script. It goes to shit if Portland beats the shit out of Chicago. But if this game is competitive, which I think it can be, Portland, 50-50. Same thing with the Bulls, 50-50. And maybe more like 70-30 because they're pretty bad. But that could be an interesting game stack. Porter's interesting. At a position that I really don't like. Centers, Jokic, why not? Price only went up $200. The matchup did not change. He's just triple-doubling like it's his job because it's his job. And he's doing a phenomenal fucking job. Jokic. I mean, at this point, if he's on the slate and he's under 11K, you just do it. You just Nike that ass. Rudy Gobert against Brooklyn. It's okay. 7-7. It's a cool number. Not on Rudy. Joval's also been disappointing. I mean, you can't really put it on him. His team's not hanging around games. But, I mean, he should also get more opportunities with John Moran out. We just haven't been impressed with what we've seen. But he should. You know who's been a fucking disaster is Nurkic, man. This dude could play. He's been terrible. And his play time's been going down. He's been bad. I don't know what's going on with him. Been bad. But this is also a great spot. Really, really, really good spot. Against Wendell Carter, right? Mr. Carter. I love Nurkic. Gonna do it again. Because I love pain. Montrezl Harrell, 6'1". I feel like I'm not gonna get a chance to play him as much as I used to, and that sucks on this team. Because I got Marc Gasol, and then you can play Anthony Davis at the 5 at times. And that just sucks. Look at Cantor has now passed or has now passed the 5K marker. And he's not playing big minute, man. You see what he's doing. It's a shame, man. Shame. Brandon Clark, who I skipped over at power forward, I'll keep going back to this dude, man. Eventually, he's got to play better. He's never really played well as a starter, but he's getting 30 minutes. He's got to do it. He's got to do it. Maybe foul trouble. That would suck. But I'm going to try because that position sucked, and I do like him. Naz Reid came off the bench because they were worried about foul trouble. He had 5 fouls off the bench in 23 minutes. They were correct. Probably the right call. Irrelevant because they suck and they got blown out. Ed Davis did get the start, got 24 minutes, also had 5 fouls. If Ed Davis starts again at 3,400, that's some value. But that ass, if he would get another 20 minutes, 24 minutes, maybe so at 3,400. Jakob Podol. What the fuck ever. It's all right. It's not great. Revenge spot, Marc Gasol. We see Marc Gasol cut loose one of these games. Yeah, against Minnesota, of course. Of course it was Minnesota. Went for 40 DraftKings points in 21 minutes, which is balling. Just played Memphis, was mediocre. Got 24 minutes though. Not a ton. I don't know. But we have the highlights. We know where to start, right? At least in like your optimal builds as of now, which is the night before, of course. It's actually past midnight, so it's technically early as fuck in the morning. LeVert. Boom. So that's your starting blocks as of now. Things could change. We can get more news. Things get different. It's going to be popular as fuck too. But that's our starting point. Work your way from there. Kyrie LeVert. Right? You don't, see where the news takes you. Don't forget about that late game. You're going to have to make a conscious decision on what you're doing with that late game. Conscious decision. What's this? Busy2 presents in the chat says, I'm new to DraftKings. Can't win for nothing. It's a tough game. It does take a lot of skill. There's a lot of strategy involved. I've had my growing pains over the years, but it is a very fun game, and you can make some money. You can, but you really got to work at it, and that's what we try to help people do in the Slack chat at WiseTake with our content. No guarantees. Nobody can guarantee you nothing. You still got to interpret the information. You have to decipher the right from the wrong and make your own decisions. There's no guarantees that such and such player could be successful. But we try to at least put you in a position where you have the information, or you can learn the information, you can ask questions, anything. Putting you in a community will help you learn a lot quicker. You talk to some of our members in the Slack. A lot of these guys have been through. We've all been there, right? We've all been in that spot. And sometimes talking to a lot of our guys, we got a lot of really smart members that have been with us for a while. Especially with NBA, we got a lot of guys coming back, and they could save you. They could save you a lot of money and time simply by talking to you and kind of explaining the different things that they've learned over the years as well. But it is fun. You gotta be responsible. You gotta be disciplined, and you got to play within your means. Rizzy says, what should I play as a beginner? As you're learning, understanding cash games, like playing real cheap cash games, I think understanding that concept would help. I mean, you could always just throw darts in tournaments and hope you hit, or play in smaller tournaments and hope you hit. But if you don't really know what the builds are looking like, cash games are a good place to start, because cash games kind of put you in that mindset of taking advantage of underpriced players, right? Like we talked about Caris LeVert. Hypothetically, let's say Caris LeVert at 6'6", which I don't even necessarily think that he is priced for that. He hasn't been that great, but well, I guess he is, right? Like Caris LeVert being out. I'm sorry, Kevin Durant being out. If DraftKings didn't know that when they set the pricing, and Caris LeVert was going to be 6'6" with Kevin Durant in, we are now getting value there, because now he's in a bigger role, right? We've got Kevin Durant off the court. We've got LeVert having to play more minutes, getting an opportunity to have more usage, and the same thing with Irving. Their roles have been increased, but their price is not. Hypothetically, I'm just using this as an example. Hypothetically, but cash games, I feel like, get you in that mindset. They get you trained to identify the right plays, if you will. And then once you got a good grasp on identifying that, that'll help you identify what's popular. And then you'll be able to identify pivots. But at the end of the day, I do recommend for anyone who doesn't, especially in basketball and baseball, MME, mass multi-entry. Just doing a bunch of teams, as many teams as you can. That's what I spend all day working on my NBA projections for that reason, because that's just how I play, and I think that's the right way to do it. It's the right way to do any sport. Football, I like to do hand-built teams more. It's the right way to do any sport. I would recommend working your way up to that. But to start to identify these certain situations, these plays, if you will, I think cash games could help. They're tough, man. You're playing with some really smart people. You got to also learn some of the players to avoid and all that kind of stuff. But it's a good way to learn, training yourself, what the optimal plays are. Once you learn what the optimals are, at that point you can then make your pivots to tournament play. Anyway, nation, appreciate y'all. Hit the like button if you haven't already, and subscribe. We'll be back at it tomorrow. All day, really. Well, I guess today for most of it, and then we'll be back at it with early. Appreciate you. For myself, the entire WiseTake Nation, as always. Good luck. Yeah.